Good morning, everyone, and welcome. As Samantha just mentioned, the first tech call of 2017. I want to thank you all for being on the webinar this morning. We're going to be getting started right away. For those of you who are new to our tech call process, and there are some who are new on the call, I can see, which is fantastic. Welcome. We start promptly at 8 o'clock, and we complete this call precisely at 9:30. And it is designed to be totally technical information. I'm going to move very quickly through the content. We don't have a feedback dialogue on this call, and that we actually have that on our fourth Thursday of the month call from 9 to 10:30 p.m. And that's where we have our shared content, and everyone gets to be involved in the process of discussing what's moving and what's happening in our industry. So we're going to get started right away.
Actually, Your Majesty, the All Power Teams call will be on the third Thursday of the month, the 19th, which is next Thursday, due to all of us actually going to be traveling to Las Vegas. So we're going to be having too much fun in Las Vegas. No, I'm kidding. I just want to make sure that everybody knows that the All Power Teams call is actually next Thursday on the 19th, and you will receive email confirmation and reminders about that.
Thank you, Samantha. Thank you very much. All right, so let's get started. And the first thing that I want to do is we're going to be talking about setting up your appointment for your client and what to do when you are working with your scheduling of a customer in Genesis and how it integrates with ISN. So the first thing that we're going to do is I'm going to actually go into a little bit about the process of scheduling your orders. The most important thing to understand about scheduling a 203K transaction is that your interaction is not exclusively with the buyer and a real estate agent. In fact, you should not be scheduling the consultation appointment without getting the consultation request form from the lender in anticipation of going out to the property. Now, with that being said, it doesn't mean that you cannot go ahead and book the appointment, get all the details, discuss everything with your client. What it means is that before you actually get to the property, or if you go ahead and do the inspection, before you actually release the report, you need to get the consultation request form so that you know who you're working with. Because without that information, you're not going to be able to know how to effectively complete the file. So now what I'm going to show you now, and I'm going to actually share it on the documents that I actually can add here. I don't even see that box here. I'm going to actually hopefully be able to put those files in for you to be able to have access to here on the webinar. The first thing that you need to do is, let me turn off Skype. Bingo. Okay, great. So the first thing you need to do is move this off of here. Perfect. Is you want to set up your consultation checklist. And this is a document that you should be using with your clients, and it should be coming up on the screen now. Good. Okay, here it comes. And what this document does is this is a guide for when you are setting up your appointment with your clients. And when you're setting up that appointment, you're going to be using this document to be able to let people know what's happening. So this is a form that your back office personnel should have available to them, and so that when they're ready to schedule the calls, they can actually have these questions handy so they can find out what the information. The most important information, again, is you need the lending information. You need to know who the lender is, and you need to get that consultation request form from the lender. You see, without that consultation request form, we don't know what is going on with the project. For example, without the consultation request form, we don't know who the loan company is that's going to be funding this mortgage. It could be, for example, if I didn't know that this client was working with Freedom Mortgage because I didn't get the consultation request form filled out, then I would not be able to know that for the Freedom Mortgage projects, there is a mandatory minimum 15% contingency. Wells Fargo does not have that minimum contingency requirement. Their requirement is that you can go as low as a 10%. So as you can see on this form, it is a PDF form fill document, and this form is available to you all on the Power Team site, and you actually can brand it with your own logo information and the contact detail at the bottom. You can actually put your own information underneath it. But this is actually should be filled out as a PDF form filled document and then scanned and then basically just emailed right back to you from the loan officer. That should be how you should initiate all of your orders. You want to talk to the loan companies that you're working with. Now, when we have our All Power Team web conference call next Thursday night, we're going to talk about the marketing cycle of the 203K process. Many of you have given the goal for this year of growing your 203K business. Yesterday on the webinar that I held about contractors, the part 2 webinar for contractors on how to bid to win, we talked about the fact that just as of Tuesday in the President Obama's farewell address, he actually decreased the PMI by 25 basis points. And what that basically equates to for the typical home buyer is a $500 savings per year on their mortgage. Now, $500 might not, that's an average $500. So some people it's going to be more, some people it may be less. But it's going to make people be more interested in the 203K process. And they're going to be looking at FHA loans more. And when they start looking at FHA loans for homes that need repairs, their first choice to be able to buy this property is going to need to be the 203K. A matter of fact, it's interesting because we have a member who had planned to lower his scale back his membership to just the bronze level because he says he wasn't getting any traction in his 203K business, and then all of a sudden he got 2 phone calls from 2 lenders, and he's like, never mind, I'm fine where I'm at because I think things are going to be happening. So don't be surprised if you may not have had a lot of activity in the past 4 months. Don't think that that's going to be the case moving forward. There are a lot of rumors and there's a lot of anxiety out there in the industry where people are talking about the fact that interest rates are about to go up with the change in administration. So I had a conversation last night on a one-on-one coaching call with one of our members, and she said that all of a sudden people she's getting a lot more home inspections, and there's a lot of flurry of activity because people are trying to take advantage of the interest rates before they go up. Okay, so this is something that you need to be aware of, that we're going to get busy, and you need to be making sure that as soon as a buyer calls you or a borrower calls you to say, I need a 203K inspection, or I need an FHA inspection, or I need a work write-up. Those are the terms that people are going to use when they call you. You need to understand, if someone calls you up and says, I need a work write-up report, or I need a work write-up, you need to back them up because they do not get the work write-up as soon as you go out to the property. And if they don't understand that right up front, you're going to have people with unreasonable and false expectations. So the first thing you do is you get this consultation request form filled out by the lender, lets you know who's going to be managing the loan, what the rehab amount is that they're expecting to have, what the maximum loan amount, what the estimated purchase price of the property is, what the maximum loan amount is that this person can borrow at the high end right there. And when they need this information, when is the settlement date? All this information is critical when you're discussing this project with the borrower. Because let's say, for example, today is January the 12th, and someone has on there that their loan is supposed to go to closing on February 15th. You need to let them know that unless it is a very specifically well-constructed project and all of the planets align and the fairies put pixie dust on this deal, it will not close on February 15th, a month from the time you have the conversation. First thing you need to let your clients know is that typically the projects will close within 6 weeks of the date that you actually deliver the preliminary report. Notice I didn't say 6 weeks from this date, 6 weeks from the date of the inspection. It's 6 weeks from the release of the initial preliminary work write-up, okay? Otherwise known as your feasibility report. Manage expectations early on. So if it says February 15th on this form, you need to get right back on the phone with that mortgage specialist and say, hey, I just got your form. Thank you so much. I'm going to be calling your client shortly to schedule an appointment. I have some openings, later this week or the early part of next week. I'm going to get right out there. But I noticed that you had that the closing date was February 15th. You know that that's most likely not going to happen. Is there any flexibility in them getting this property even if we exceed that date? Oh yeah, well I just put that in there we've got, there's no rush on it, we're good to go. Fine. Thank you. Just wanted to make sure. And then you document that in your notes. So you've gotten your consultation request form. You know who the lender is. You know who your client is. Your next process is to make a phone call to your client and get this form filled out. And you can fill this form out and then use it to be able to translate it onto your Genesis file, or you can simply just log in and enter your information directly into Genesis. So I'm going to actually use the same test account that I created yesterday, or that I used yesterday. Yeah, go in there. And now, the first thing you need to understand is that there are two ways to enter a transaction. You can enter it through by importing it into ISN, which is what we recommend, or you can enter the project details directly. So now, when you are taking the phone call, again, you need to make sure that you gather this information, and this is important for you to be able to have this, and that's why we use this form, because it makes it easier to be able to create the information, because you can't put this on your order form on ISN unless you're doing 203Ks all the time, because the order forms are generalized. You don't have separate order form opportunity, which is something I'm working with them on to see if we can have a specific order form or order entry information in ISN that's unique to the 203K project. But let's go through this. Are all utilities on? This is a conversation that you want to have with your client very early in the conversation. This is an important part of the conversation very early on, because this will affect the dating of your appointment. So let's pretend that you are a client and I'm your consultant, or the back office person in the company who's handling the or scheduling of the order, and I am talking to you and I say to you, are all utilities of heat, water, and electric at the property turned on? Well, I don't think so. No, when I was out there, the only thing that I saw was working was the electric. Well, is there the opportunity to get the utilities turned on? Is there a seller for the property, or is this a foreclosed home? Well, yeah, there is a seller, or it's a HUD home. There's three different types of properties. There is a HUD repossessed home, there is an REO bank-owned home, and then there is a regular seller-owned or estate where there is some private owner of the property available. If there is a seller, or if it is a HUD-owned property, as you all know from your knowledge assessment test, the borrower has the right to get utilities turned on in their name for the inspection process. If it is an REO property, you may not have the flexibility to get those utilities turned on. If they may say, no, we don't allow that, or whatever. If it is a seller-owned property, you should know that most agreements for sale have it clearly worded that the seller is responsible to have all utilities on and testable for all inspections that are scheduled for a property. So now, again, like I said, this is not an interactive conversation, but from time to time I will ask your input. How many of you have read the most recent edition of the agreement for sale for your state? Raise your hand. Wow, no hands went up. I recommend each of you go and either talk to your mortgage lender or talk to a real estate agent that you have in your network and just ask for a copy of the most recent agreement for sale for your market. Okay, that's something that you want to make sure that you read through so that you can know what the terms and conditions are for your state. So as I said, I have a copy of it. You might be able to even get it online for your state from your Association of Realtors. The Pennsylvania Association of Realtors has a copy of the agreement for sale on their website as a free download. You may want to get a copy of that, because when you do, you should be able to locate some specific information, and one of those pieces is that the seller has the requirement that they have all utilities on and testable for all inspections. So now if there's no seller, if it's a bank-owned property, if it's a HUD repossessed home, then it's up to the buyer to pay if they choose to have utilities turned on, if the home hasn't been vandalized, etc. Why would a buyer want to pay upwards of $500 or possibly $1,000 to get the utilities turned on? Well, the reason is because of the contingency reserve. If you have a project that's $40,000 and the utilities are all on and testable, then, and let's say you're working with a lender who requires a minimum of a 15% contingency, which is the norm at this time. Okay, so the norm is that the lenders are looking for a minimum of 15%. So 15% contingency is $6,000. Okay, a 20% contingency, which may be the requirement that you might place on the project if no utilities are on and testable, and it's what I recommend. If no utilities are on, I would recommend you automatically roll up to the highest contingency to protect the condition of the project after closing. So with that being the case, that's an additional $2,000 that would be added onto this project for the total of $8,000 in contingency. So let's think about it. $500 on one hand to get the utilities turned on so you can have an accurate reflection to the best of your ability in a pre-sale environment of the condition of the utilities, or saving $500 today but adding $2,000 to the mortgage. So when you explain it to a customer in that respect, they are very happy to say, I'm going to see if I can get those utilities turned on. Okay, well, when you do that, please call us back with we're going to continue to take the information. I'm going to put the order in to the system in a holding pattern so that once you get those utilities turned on, please allow us 3 days for the appointment to be scheduled. So if you have a schedule that the utilities are going to be turned on, make sure you schedule that turn on time frame to allow for us to be able to make the appointment and not have a conflict of scheduling. So what you are going to say to them when you call the electric company and the water company and the gas company or whomever the companies are involved, you want to schedule that out 5 days. And as soon as you get that schedule, call us back immediately so we can make sure we can be there on that date, because it will only allow you the 1 day of that process. So let's go through this. Is it a new purchase or refinance? Well, if you have your consultation request form, you know that already because it says so right here on the form if it is a purchase or refinance. Okay? So with that being the case, the next thing you want to do is, what is their preferred date of inspection? Again, that's going to be contingent upon the utilities being on. And then here's one of the very biggest questions. Is it public or private water and sewage? If it is private water and sewage, please note the comment that's listed here for you to read to your client verbatim, okay? And this actually has been a situation that recently came up with a consultant. If it is private, ask if a septic and well water tests have or are going to be scheduled. If the report is already completed, it should be no older than 90 days so it can still be considered usable at the time of settlement. And the reason why we say 90 days is because you're allowed to have a septic report that is 6 months old. Okay? However, many times 203K transactions take about 6 to 12 weeks to close. And if you have a 4-month-old, 5-month-old septic report, it won't be good by the time they go to closing. So a good rule of thumb is to say that is the report less than 90 days old? You can also make arrangements, and you should have a relationship. If you don't provide septic or well inspections, you should have a relationship with a company that can be subcontracted to perform that test at the time of your initial inspection. Has a home inspection been done? Well, you all should know that the HUD requires that we submit a form to the buyer that says, for your protection, get a home inspection. And that is required that we include that even with a 203K transaction. So you need to let them know, have you had a home inspection already on this property? Sometimes the real estate agent won't have understood that the 203K consultant can and may be able to complete that inspection report, and they'll have already had their client pay for another person to have an inspection prior to your appointment. Well, that's money that we lost. But it's also great because you can get a copy of that report and use that as the basis for your feasibility inspection. And that's a good thing because you actually can save you some time and effort. But if they haven't had one, you can suggest that at the time of the consultation appointment, I can also do your home inspection report, which is something that HUD recommends all buyers have, because the 203K report is not a substitute for a home inspection. It is a product used for your mortgage process. So why do you want to do that? Again, it gives that buyer the additional opportunity to get information that's not included in your consultation report. It also gives you the opportunity to generate additional income. And on the All Power Team webinar, we're going to talk about the fees, because many of you are being hit up with issues from lenders about the fees. And so please be on the All Power Team webinar, because that's the first topic we're going to discuss, is the results of the poll that was taken back in November and the fees. that consultants can charge moving forward. So with that being said, you want to be able to offer the opportunity for them to get the home inspection, if you can provide it, termite inspection, which is going to be mandatory for almost all HUD transactions moving forward, and the consultation inspection. Do you do lead paint inspections? You might offer that. Do you do mold inspection? I strongly recommend all of you provide mold sampling for your clients, because mold is the new asbestos. If you find that there's indications of mold or mildew smell, the appraiser is going to flag that property and call for a mold inspection. Here's a way for you to be able to address that proactively and let the client know that you can perform that service should they need it done. Sorry about that. Excuse me. I had to take a sip of water. So this is your way to market yourself to be able to do an inspection. So here you can see that this is my company's file, and I'm telling the person who's calling them on the phone that we can do it if it's within the Philadelphia, Delaware Valley. And now we are able to do it in New Jersey and Delaware as well. So what is happening with the project? What's going on? What is the client looking to do? So you want to ask them, if it's a refinance and the dollar amount is more than $100,000, ask the client what type of work is being proposed, and have they had the scope of work evaluated by a contractor. If they're saying to you that it is a purchase, also you want to find out, well, have you had a contractor look at the property? No, I haven't. Well, where did you, I noticed that on the form I have here, it says that you're looking, that the rehab amount is $40,000. How did you come up with that figure? Oh, well, that's how much I can spend. Oh, okay. But you haven't had a professional evaluate the home at this time? No, we didn't do anything. We just went out ourselves, and that's what, and we can only spend $40,000. Basically what that said to you or to me is that no matter how much work is out there, this deal is going to die if it's over $40,000. And since they have not had a professional out to the property, traditionally, borrowers are about 100%, about 80% of the time, the borrower is 100% off in the numbers, because they don't know what they're looking at, and they just have their figure in their mind regardless of what the condition has holding in the property. So utilities are off. It's a septic system that hasn't been tested in who knows how long. There is no current septic report available, and the client says that they haven't had a professional out to the property. What that says to me is I'm getting ready to give them a report that's going to upset them, because it's going to show them things that they probably are not going to be able to afford. This is why we recommend that if it is a septic system, they should have the septic inspection performed before your consultation. Why? If the septic inspector goes out and says that the entire system is compromised and they need to have a completely replaced septic system, you and I all know that the typical cost for a completely new septic system starts at $15,000 and goes upward from there. Raise your hand if you all have septic system in your area and you've seen it kill deals. So all the hands just went flying up, okay? So you want to show yourself to be that advocate for the customer. You want to make yourself the person who is thinking about them. So you're going to say to them, you know, I want to put this in the proper perspective for you. While my services are required, I don't want you to pay for my report if it looks like we cannot move forward past the septic inspection. So you're going to need, would you like me to go ahead and schedule that for you? I can take down your credit card information. We can arrange for that appointment. You don't need to be present for a septic inspection. Once that report is received, we can then discuss it and decide if you need to move forward with the next appointment. If the septic inspection is so significantly bad, we can write you a letter that you can use to withdraw the offer, and basically it'll state that based upon the septic inspection, the transaction, the deal is not doable. What are you going to do with septic inspections and well inspections? Obviously, you're going to add a surcharge onto the service, because if you're going to review it, you're going to write a letter, so then you're going to add a fee for you processing the report, and let them know that up front. The septic inspection typically costs anywhere from $400 to $500, and that includes a $75 fee for my evaluation of the report, and possibly a letter for you to be able to get out of the transaction. Okay? How many of you feel that that's a fair thing to say to a client when discussing this? Raise your hand. Okay? Because you are doing work on their behalf, and if you aren't letting them know that up front, They may go shopping for septic companies of their own and find that that septic report is, you know, $75 less from somebody else. You can say, well, regardless of who you have it, there is a $75 fee that we charge for our review and evaluation of that report and for documentation of the information in your file. So let them know. Either way, 75 bucks comes to you for that report. You can work with someone, they can work with someone who you can affiliated with you, and they will respect you for your candor. Okay? So set up a relationships with the septic and well inspection company if you don't do it yourself. Get certified to do mold inspection. It is my most successful upsell with 203K consultation reports these days, because the slightest smell of mold or mildew in a property, and we know they almost all have it, or the slightest indication of a black mold-like substance in a bathroom or someplace that I know an appraiser is going to see, I'm going to point it out to the client, and I'm going to let them know I need to take mold samples of this to find out if there's a need to have an antimicrobial treatment for this problem included in the scope of work as a safety concern. And my fees for mold inspections are $225 for 2 samples, and then $75 for every additional sample. So that's just like first floor, basement, and the outside. First floor and then the outside is $225. If they want the second floor of the basement, that's an additional $75. So I'm usually getting $300 to $375 on top of my consultation fee for the mold inspection. So how many of you here do mold inspections right now? Raise your hand. Wow, only one. You might want to contact, we actually will be having ProLab, a representative from ProLab on our webinar in February. But if you'd like a contact person at ProLab so you can set up your lab, get your test kit, they have, and if you're a member of InterNACHI, they have a free mold inspection certification course that if you're an InterNACHI member you can take, and you can get your mold situation set up for as little as, I believe, I'm going to say under $350 for the complete mold test kit. So if anyone would like that information about a connection to ProLab to be able to set that up, just raise your hand, and I will make sure Samantha gets you the name of Ben. Sam, I had a brain freeze. What's Ben's last name?
Ben Fontan.
Ben Fontan at ProLab. So yeah. Would you type in the chat box for everybody Ben Fontan's phone number and email at ProLab for me?
Doing it now.
Thank you. Okay. So scope of work. If it is a new purchase and the dollar amount is large and the rehab amount is from $80,000 to $100,000, again, you need to ask for architectural plans. If the person says to you, well, I'm ripping off the roof and I'm adding a second floor, most likely the person saying that has had a contractor come out, but they may not have had architectural plans. You cannot, repeat, you are unable to successfully complete a work write-up if you don't know how high the ceilings are, how wide the rooms are, what the footprint, especially if they're adding to the back of the, if they're changing the footprint, where is the footprint going to be, what type of foundation, what is the pitch and type of roof, what is the size and components of the attic, what is the condition and the needs for upgrading to the HVAC or plumbing systems or the electric. You can't move forward. You're not an architect, and you're not getting paid for that kind of work. As a matter of fact, we're going to talk about the fees and why you need to make sure you get a lot of information ahead of time to help offset the fact that our fees have now been curtailed. So with that being said, you would not, and I do not, go out to a property unless I have architectural plans in my possession for projects that require them. Okay, and it is your job to determine if they're required. Let the borrower know that if they need to have architectural plans for the project, they have to pay for the preliminary plans prior to closing because they need to be included with the work write-up. However, the fee for those architectural plans for the finalization and the sealed plans, which will be required after closing to go to the township for permits, and all fees for those architectural plans can be added, God bless you, can be added to the work write-up and reimbursed to the borrower at the very first draw. So let's say the borrower has to, and you should have a set of architects in your database that you can introduce to the clients who actually are aware. Let me show you my list. This is my architect and contracting engineering firms, and this is basically, it gives what they do, how much they charge, and what the delivery turnaround time is. These last two companies, I have no information right now, but I'm one of the projects for my office staff. is to update this list and add at least 2 more engineers and architects, structural engineers and architects, so that you can just basically forward this list to the client and say, please reach out to any of these individuals. They let them know that you were referred by us and that you're looking to get architectural preliminary plans. Just basically drawings is all I need to be able to move forward with the project. Okay? So that's something that you should have available to you immediately to be able to give to the client so they can get their architectural plans set up. Speaking of having your staff assist you with making sure you have all the necessities to be able to successfully set up your project early on, my staff is on this call, and I strongly recommend, if you have a back office person or someone who does your phone scheduling who is not an outside company, okay, for example, you have an in-house staff person who assists, who works with you in your company, I am letting you know that you can have any of those and all of those individuals in your back office and administrative staff participate in any call that you are a part of, that you have access to. So silver, gold, and diamond level members have access to the tech and the power team calls. You can have any staff member a part of those calls. My staff is right now on this call listening and being positively reinforced the information that they need to do moving forward when they're booking appointments. Do you have contractors? Contractor or contractors? If the customer says that yes, they already have a contractor, then you want to get that contractor's information, his phone number, his email. You want to find out his full address and information, and you want to find out if he can be present at the appointment. Well, if the client says, well, I don't know, you want to tell them, well, would you please reach out to the contractor, let them know that I'll be calling to go over this program with them, to make sure they have the proper licensing and necessities for validation and verification. And I'm also going to invite them to come to the appointment when we have it scheduled. Okay, great, thank you. I will let him know. When is your closing date? We've already talked about making sure we manage the expectation on the closing date. And then discussion of the fees. Discussion of the fees is important at this point, because when you don't have the fees discussed with the client, they get sticker shock when it hits them, okay? In your inspection agreement through Genesis, the fees are there for them to see, and I'm going to go over the fees with you in a minute. And contractors can provide the drawings if the drawings are detailed enough for you to be able to know what you're doing, at least for doing the preliminary work write-up. But in most cases, if you're doing a full build-out, a project of over $100,000 that includes changing the footprint or adding a floor level to a property, you're going to need mechanical schedules, you're going to need window schedules, window and door schedules, you're going to need an electrical schedule. All of those are things that the township's going to need. You might as well get that borrower to give them to you to make your job easier when you're moving forward. Okay? So here you can see that when you are doing your scheduling, you need to talk about the fees. Buyer's agent information. If there is a buyer's agent, whoops, there it is. You want to find out that information, and you want to find out if that agent can attend. Why do we want that agent to attend? We want that agent to attend because we want them to be able to participate from a perspective that we want them to be educated about how to do 203Ks moving forward. All right, and that's one of the most important things that you want to have the agent attend, is so that they can actually be present to hear what 203K is and how it can benefit them moving forward. Okay? So this is the form you fill out, and once you have all this information, you're ready to complete the entry of the order into Genesis or in your ISN. And so I'm opening this up. So now, when you are importing an order from ISN, you would click the button here that says Create Project by Import from ISN. You need to sync with ISN, and once you have synchronized the order, and it's syncing now, it's taking a while, but it's syncing. Hang on, it's going to open.
What is it syncing about? No, I'm kidding.
Oh, there you go. What is it syncing about? There you go. It is importing all of the orders that are in my system that need to be, so that when I go to select the order for my project, I don't have to, I can actually find it. So here you can see the orders here. And so now this is the unique order ID, the UUID code. And so I'm going to go over to my dashboard, and let's go back to Genesis. Well, basically you're going to do it the reverse. You're going to key the order into ISN, and then from there you're going to put it into here. So now I have an inspection coming up this Saturday. So let me pull up that order. I have a 203K consultation this Saturday. And there it is. Now, this is the order. Now, the order number is 3355. And look at this property. I'm going to have a lot of fun here, aren't I? So let's go over what's been entered for this order. I know who my loan officer is, and this loan officer is the company that brokers all of their loans to Freedom Mortgage. So I know it's going to be a minimum of a 15% contingency. You can see here that this is a New Jersey 203K consultation, renovation consultation / inspection. I don't see any information about mold, radon, or termite inspection, so I'm going to need them to find out if they discuss that with the client. And here we see we have, let's see what we have. It's vacant. It's on lockbox. We have all that information. No utilities are on. Property has no utilities. It's been winterized. Okay? And so Peggy, who is on the call today, will have talked to them and made sure that she found out, can you get the utilities turned on? Are you going to be able to get the utilities turned on or not? Okay? And so we need to, the one thing that she will have completed on her consultation request form, on her 203K checklist, she'll have indicated all this information for me so that I take it with me when I go out, and I'll know up front what she has talked about. So this client has indicated that he can only do Saturday, and here's the picture of the house. So I'm going to wear my 35 below socks on this house for sure. And how do we find the actual number so I can search it in Genesis? You hit the Actions button, and you go down here to where it says View Order History. When you hit the View Order History, that's where you see the unique order ID. Okay? You copy this number. You go back to Genesis. You enter that number, Control V, and then you hit Search. And there it is. So now that's the order. Now you see the number of the order did come up. So now if you want to, you can try to use this number to search your orders. However, ISN has said to us that these numbers do not always correspond exactly to the UUID, so that don't be surprised if it doesn't work. But you can also search by hitting Control F and just entering right here in the top 3355, and then it would take you right there. So you can attempt to use the order number, but for certainty, to guarantee you're going to get the correct order, go to Order History and take the unique order ID. So now we have that. So now I'm going to import this order. Close that and import. And you can see the little squirrel. It's doing it. So now this is going to import this order into the property information record for Genesis. So now at this point I'm going to enter the information to start the order. The name of this property, I typically use the name of the client, the last name of the client, and the property address, because lenders call and talk to you about properties by the name of the client, and so do lenders and real estate agents. But for me, I go by the street name. So I'll say 12th Street or 15th Street as opposed to the buyer's name. So going back to this order, all right, my client's name is Joseph Petrick. So I'm going to copy that. And so my project name is going to be Petrick-Fifth Avenue. Okay, so now the municipality, that would come, so this is actually in Glassboro, New Jersey. So that's Monmouth County. And you can search for your counties or your municipalities when you prepare the order. I'm pretty sure it's Monmouth. And I don't have, and you can get the phone number. and it's a county. And this is a 203K. So now again, going back to the files, we have, let's see, I'll show you this folder. Let me get this out of the way. And I'm going to show you the consultation request form where you can see we have all this information. So we have a separate folder for all of our 203K projects. We've mentioned this in many calls, that you should have a master 203K projects folder that has these 5 folders that you actually can put the information in, and all you have to do is just copy this folder and paste it with a new name, and that's how you get your folder set up. So here's my Fifth Avenue folder, and so here you can see my 203K consultation checklist, and here you can see that Peggy has filled out all the information. It's a new property. What's the preferred date? On a Saturday due to work. Property is winterized. It's public utilities. No home inspection. $70,000. Doesn't have a contractor. And she discussed the fees with them. There is no agent involved. And the property is on a lockbox. So you see, she's done all my homework for me so that I know exactly what's going on. Way to go, Peggy. She's on the call today. Okay. So now we go to the pre-closing. Here's the consultation request form from the lender. So you can see he's put all his information, the client's present home information. It's going to be an owner-occupied property. It's a 203K. He's buying the house for $25,000, and the rehab amount is $70K. He needs the plan by January 9th, which obviously he knows he's not getting it because today is the 12th. And he hasn't given me a settle. So ASAP means whenever it gets done. And so this is the lender who we've worked with very successfully. As a matter of fact, he was on the webinar yesterday so that he can understand what to tell contractors when he speaks to them about the process for bidding, because it's just as important to your lender that bidders are able to successfully win bids as it is to you and the client, because that's how these deals go to closing. So whenever we have any kind of a training seminar or webinar that we have it open to the public, we strongly recommend you invite your lending partners to those events. So now I will be able to print this off to take it with me. All right, I will be able to print off the consultation checklist, and we entered the information into the system. So this is all going to go into the system, fully ready to go. And once this is completed, we hit enter. We go down, we put the borrower information, and we have it here. The lender information. Well, since this is not my actual file, I'm going to just put this any lender in. It's doing it up there at the top. There's my client. There's the lender. Now, agent information. Now, we are working on the situation so that this can be optional, that you don't have to fill this in and you can complete the order without an agent, and that will be in a future release. But for the time being, if you do not have an agent, as this one has, you can simply put the term no agent, and then just put basically a blank phone number and an email address of noagent@none.net. And then you're going to save this as you're creating this new agent. Activate. Finance option needs to be selected, so I forgot to put that it was a purchase. Contingency reserve, since I know it's a freedom job, I know it's 15%. Utilities, well, we know that the utilities are not on. And we know that the age of the property is over 60 years old. And the property is the property occupied? No. And we can now activate. Now, as you can see, the record has been successfully imported, and because we use ISN and have imported it into ISN, we now have the facility to be able to have it so that it easily transports over from, and so it prevents you from having to duplicate the efforts. Okay, so now you can see here's the property. The first step that you're going to do once you've entered the information, and you can see that no contractor is listed here, you're going to create your preliminary work write-up documents. This is the pre-inspection report that you're going to take to the client. In addition to that, you should copy this information into your program of ISN so that the client, and now this client has not signed the agreement. Okay, so this is one of the things that my staff checks the day before every inspection, and they reach out to a client. At the very least, they tell them you need to execute this agreement online before we come out to the property. And then if they say, well, I don't have a computer or whatever, you can tell them you can do this on your phone. Okay, just open up the email and do this from your phone. So here are the agreements. So let me show you what we do. This is a 203K feasibility agreement, and it's the New Jersey Standard Residential Inspection Agreement. Both of these agreements need to be signed by the client. And so this basically shows you that these are the two orders that will need to be signed, and this agreement is linked to this file. So we go back to this order. Okay, so there you can see that the 203K feasibility inspection fee. We need to put in the we're going to talk about the termite inspection fee, and if that's needed, we'll add that at the work when we complete the work write-up. Okay, and this includes mileage. All right, so your mileage is calculated. So now the first thing you have to do when you create your pre-inspection report that you're going to take with you to the client is you need to create a cover page. And in order to create the cover page, you have to use a default picture of the property. If you work with ISN, the good news is you can actually save this image that ISN gives you and use that for your cover picture. So as you can see here, she's already done that, and there's that front picture. So now if you do not have access to ISN and you need to get the cover picture for your property, it's very simple to do. All you do is you just basically take the address and you just go to Google and you hit paste, and then you hit images. Oops, I didn't hit paste right. There you go. So there you hit images, and there you can see it is. So there's my property. So I'm going to, and if you can see, there's actually a lot of internal pictures. I'm going to have a lot of fun at this house, aren't I? Good. Anyone want to come with me and go on this consultation appointment? Too bad the house is not this one. Okay? Yep, don't have any ceilings, no heat, no walls. No wonder he's only buying it for $25,000. Okay, so I'm going to have so much fun. And want to come to Pennsylvania and go out with me on Saturday and go with me, Diamond Level members, you can. So now if you don't have access to ISN for the picture, all you have to do is Google Images and get the picture, and you save the image, just like Peggy did. You save the image to your folder, and there you can see she has it there. That's probably from ISN. I'm going to take this better when it's a little sharper. So I'm going to save image as, Fifth Street, Fifth Avenue. Isn't it interesting? This house is on Fifth Avenue. It looks like this. I'm sticking it to my before pictures. So this is front view, Fifth Ave, and hit save. So now I've saved that image in the folder. So now I go back to Genesis. I choose the file. Looks exactly the same. So this is a very weak picture. And hit upload. If the picture is too small, it won't work. So make sure that you have a picture that's sized enough to work. If it says image is too small, you may have to go into the file and edit the picture with one of your picture editing programs. Paint will work beautifully for this. And so you can go in and open with Paint. and increase the file size. Okay, and so you can basically get resized, and you can increase it by, say, 50% or whatever to make it big enough. So you might find that the image is so small from a Google copy that you have to resize the photo. Paint is a program that's on almost all computers as a free program, so this is something that you want to make sure that you have access to, and that's how you can increase the size of your picture. You can also crop it if it's too big. So if you need to crop the photo to make it fit better, so here I'm going to take this and just take that much of the picture, and I'm going to crop that. So now I'm going to save this. So now I just changed the front picture. So now now you can see it has all that space. So if I want to delete this picture and import a new picture, you cannot create the pre-inspection reports unless you have all of these done, all these 3 steps. So now I have the picture uploaded, and you can see it's a smaller image and it's cropped, so it'll show up nicely on the report. So if you want to generate a preview of what that page will look like for your cover page, this is how it looks. Okay, so now this is demonstration version, not for client release, because I'm in a test program for Genesis, and I want people to see that if you have not received your full membership, this is what it looks like when you print reports. Okay, you can use Genesis exactly seamlessly. However, when you go to print reports, this is what will show up. So this is a demonstration program because this account that I'm using is not an activated account. And so you can see that on that page it will show up like this. So now on my live version, which I can show you, oops, go back. Come back here. Because you see my staff has already done this work for me. So here you see pre-inspection agreements. So they've already done everything that I need to go out and do this report. So now Robert Tammy is the inspector who does New Jersey print transactions, but because he is he's going to be away on Saturday, I'm doing it for him. So I'm just going to change my name to this, but I have it keyed into his program because after I do the preliminary report, all further activities of draw inspections and everything else will be done by him. So make sure that you have it in the folder of the person who's actually going to do the report. So here you can see that this has already been created. There's the cover page. There's the this is the consultation agreement with the fees listed. So you can see the $60,000 to $75,000 project fee is $850, plus there's an additional $100 fee for the preliminary work write-up report. And so this form needs to be signed by the borrower either prior to the appointment, but if they haven't gotten it signed by the time I get there, I will be giving them a white 3-ring view binder with this cover page on the outside and these forms on the inside, and it includes this form here, the HUD-approved consultant non-home inspection disclosure. And this is the form that says this is not a home inspection, it's not being done as a home inspection, and so if you are looking for a home inspection, we can perform one. HUD requires that we complete this form for all of your 203K consultations, so it's part of your package. Okay? So going back out to Genesis, this is the image for the cover page. Once you have your cover page completed, you get the checklist. And again, that non-home inspection disclosure form is a guaranteed form and it's already there. The next thing is your consultant services agreement. When we have given you a standard boilerplate consultant services agreement, you need to edit this and make sure that it is exactly what you want it to say. So now this says the state of Pennsylvania, and in the case of the file that is being done for Saturday on Robert's system, it says the state of New Jersey, because he only does inspections in New Jersey. And here it will import the name that you have put in as your name as consultant. So here this says Catherine Queenie, because this is a test file, and the company name is NAFAC. So all this is your information that you use for your program. Now, You can edit this consultant services agreement. So now we're going to just hit submit. That means I've reviewed it and I'm happy with it. So now I have 3 check marks on all of the 3 required items necessary for me to be able to go to closing. To be able to print this off for my client. So I hit the preview print inspection reports. Now once again, remember this is a test program, so it's going to have the word demonstration on all the pages. But that's my cover page, client services agreement with my company logo and the name of the client, client address. And the non-disclosure agreement. So as you can see, this is not for client release. Demonstration version is on this. So if you're printing and this is what you see, you need to please call our office, okay, or email us at info@nafac.org, or just contact us at 203K in the box, however you wish to reach us, and let us know so that we can go ahead and discuss your account. Okay? So this is now ready for me to print and take with me to my client appointment. If you are working with a program such as Adobe PDF or any kind of a DocuSign program, you can print this to a PDF file and then you can actually send this off for electronic signature if you choose in this exact format. So let's go back. Now, I would recommend you stay at this phase until after you've come back from your appointment. If you go and if you set this up so that once you get here, you are going to hit the button that says finalize. So let's say we sign this document and hit finalize. In order to finalize this document, you have to have the settings with a signature. And if you haven't gotten an electronic signature, it is very easy to do. And let me just show you. I took some information from that yesterday, so I can show you that today. To create an electronic signature, it's very simple to do. You take and you write on a piece of paper. Let's see if I can find mine. I did one yesterday in my married name because I had to do some forms for the home we're buying in Florida. So here you can see that yesterday I created, that's not the one I was looking for. So what I did was on a white piece of paper using different color pens, I actually wrote my name on a piece of paper. And then what I did was I took a picture of it with my cell phone, and then I, using camera uploads, got the picture imported into my computer. I edited it and cropped it down to just to the signature. So I just edited it down so it's just my signature. And then I saved it as a JPEG so that now I can import that image into the program for me to be able to do pictures. Okay? That's as simple as it can get for doing a signature. It doesn't get any easier than that. So then all you have to do is upload your signature. I have multiple signatures in different color inks and different types of thickness of pens because depending on what I want to do, sometimes I want to do 2 separate signatures on a document. I want to make it look like it's actually hand signed, so I use 2 different pens, 2 different pen inks, so it looks like it's the same picture. So it looks squished up here, but it's going to show up correctly on the page. The other thing that you can change in your settings is your default consultant services agreement. And then it will take effect on your next project and the homeowner contractor agreement. You can change that text as well. If you do not have a signature, so let's say I delete the signature, and you go back to your project, you are only able to preview and print this agreement. You cannot go to the next step because you are yet to upload your signature. Click Settings from menu above to upload your signature. So without that signature, you cannot move forward with the process. Whoops, hit the wrong button. So I'm going to go back up to Settings, upload my signature. I keep signatures in my 203K folder so that my staff can be able to access them for importing in documents. So you can see I have different thickness, different types, but it's all my handwriting, and this way I can put a different signature in. Now it says the current width of image is 386 and the height is 126. The image is too small. Keep the width over 400 pixels and the height over 100 pixels. So now you can easily correct that in Paint. By just increasing it to the dimensions they're asking for. And there, that next image was a bigger image and it worked. So now I can go back to that project, and now you see I have either the option of previewing and printing or the option of completing, signing, and going on to the pre-inspection report. So I recommend that you not finalize it until you get back from the property. You hit your preview, and then this is going to create the forms that you need. And so now you see you are at the pre-inspection phase. Now, what I want to explain is this. Sometimes you'll get to the property and the client will say, well, you know what? I actually, since we've spoken, I have gotten a contractor. He's already put in his numbers, and here they are. If you have a situation where the client has already given you numbers, or you already have the contractor proposal, let's say it's a refinance, and the contractor gave you a beautiful, well-written proposal, completely detailed with everything you needed to know, and you go out to the property and you have his contractor proposal, and you like what his numbers look like, and the work is good, you can bypass the feasibility report. And when you are planning to bypass the feasibility report, that's why you do not want to finalize this, because if you finalize it, you cannot go straight to work write-up. Okay, so let's go back to all projects. So you can see here, this one allows me to go back to contractor bidding. You can roll back. Now, if you need to go straight to work write-up, but you have finalized this report, so let's say we hit finalize the report. You see this button here? It does allow you to roll back, because only at the pre-inspection stage can you go straight to work write-up. You cannot go straight to work write-up after you've written a feasibility report, because if you've done a pre-inspection and you are creating a feasibility report, obviously it means you need to do bidding with a contractor. Let me be clear on that. In order to go straight to work write-up, you must be at the preliminary inspection stage. Here on the inline manual, you can see how to change the data after contractor bidding is started, how to change data after finalizing the feasibility report, and how to change data after finalizing the work write-up. So these are help topics that tell you what buttons you have to push, what you need to do to be able to roll back. This is called the roll back process. Okay, so if once you've done something you decide you have to change it, these are the steps you need to take to be able to go backwards. Okay, and here's the big caution at the bottom. Any bid submitted will be erased, and the contractor will need to be invited anew, and then these contractors will then need to enter all data in the newly revised bid package. It is for this reason we strongly recommend using option 1 and just have the contractor make changes on their specific bid. In other words, have the contractor resubmit his bid. And we talked about that yesterday on the webinar on how to invite a contractor to resubmit a bid. Okay? So this is how you can use the inline manual for details. But if you hit the pre-inspection finalization and you start entering feasibility data, it means that you're going to move to the next stage of getting contractor bids. But if you already have a contractor in place and you just want to go straight to the work write-up, you roll back, and anything that you've entered into the feasibility report is deleted. And now you have only your preliminary inspection report, your pre-inspection paperwork, and then you can hit this button here to go straight to work write-up. Now, please note, if you choose the straight to work write-up feature, it cannot be changed. You cannot roll back once we kick this button. This is the one situation that is cast in stone, because you've skipped so many steps. It can't take you back to where you need to be, because the rollback process that we have in this program rolls you back incrementally, step by step by step. So in other words, if you're at work write-up and you need to go all the way back to preliminary to feasibility, you go from work write-up back to contractor bidding, from contractor bidding to feasibility. So here you're skipping from pre-inspection all the way to work write-up. You're bypassing 3 steps. The system does not have the capability to roll you back to the very beginning because there's no incremental steps. So does everybody understand this? Please raise your hand if you understand, because this is something that people have been saying, oops, I accidentally skipped a work write-up and now I need to go back. You can't go back. You have to be able to start, you have to write a whole new job. So please understand, it's designed, this is designed, if you can read here with me, you're choosing to skip the work write-up task list and bypass all, you're choosing to skip directly to work write-up task list and bypass all preliminary evaluation and reporting processes, including feasibility study and contractor bidding. The following are examples of situations when you should use this feature. Entering a project into Genesis that was begun from another software. So now many of you came over to Genesis from another rehab reporting system, and you don't need to go through these steps. All you need is to have your numbers so you can start doing draws. Well, this is the way you do that. You just basically click this button, you skip all the preliminary steps, and in this circumstance, if you're importing from another software, all you do is just enter lump sum numbers. You don't need to enter all the specific line items because you already have created a written specification of repairs from your other software. All you need is the lump sum numbers in the categories for you to be able to enter your draw inspection numbers. And we're going to talk about converting from another software to Genesis in a separate webinar coming up in February, because we're going to be completing an event in January, and we're also inviting other consultants from other that are not in the NAVFAC family to join us and to benefit from the Genesis software. So so now the question, we have a question here, and it says the question is, whoops. All right, great. So the question that we have is, do we get the person to sign? Hang on, where's my question at? Okay, great. Let me open up the question page. Sorry, I lost it. All right, great. So the question was, so you have them sign both and put both the home inspection and feasibility on the same file in ISN? Absolutely. You put both in the same file on ISN because that way we upload both reports separately to ISN and we reference them in the one file. If it's easier than setting up 2 separate orders because it skews your numbers, your metrics of how many inspections you performed. Because you only performed 1 inspection, you just produced 2 reports. So we put it all on. Now you can choose to do it however you choose, but to make sure our numbers are correct for our orders processing, we keep it on separate because again, if you have separate orders, they're going to get a whole bunch of separate autoresponders. And so this way we have one series of autoresponders that reflect each of the inspections that are done. Okay? So also another question was, do you have them sign the disclosure in person as opposed to in ISN? I want my client to sign all disclosures, all agreements online because of the legal requirement that courts are now stating that customers were not given ample time to be able to review and sign documents. Every document that you have included for them to sign in your ISN system. So great question. Thank you so much. All right. So did everybody benefit from those questions? Because I try to make sure that the questions I read out loud are those that would benefit everybody. So raise your hand if that question was beneficial to you. Okay. Thank you. So now back to this. If you're taking over a project from another consultant, again, you don't need to do the preliminary phases. All you need to do is enter numbers. And thirdly, the preliminary reporting steps are not necessary for the project as a contractor bid has already been provided and accepted. In other words, you've got a refinance 203K. They've got a detailed contractor bid. They've been planning this renovation for months. And they've got a contractor scope of work that's down to the nail. And they've got architectural plans. Well, you may not find that out till you get to the property. And if that's the case, you want to say to your client right there at the property, and that's why you want to make sure that you have a copy of the pre-inspection agreement in a binder for you to be able to refer to them. At that point, you're going to say to them, because you have already gotten everything done and we don't need to do the preliminary steps, I need to collect my full work write-up fee today because I'm not going to be doing a preliminary report. So the fee that I need to have you pay today is not the $400 charge. I need you to give me the $950 based upon the fact that this is a $100,000, you know, a $95,000 project. Get your fee up front. If they already know they're doing this and it's a lead pipe cinch, don't go through the process of delaying it and sending them a preliminary report and all of that. If the contractor is comfortable with how you're going to put the numbers on the report, and even if he's not, you can always adjust it when you create the matching contractor bid, then why go through all that steps? One, it gives you longer time to deliver the report, because you can say, hey, you know what, normally I deliver a preliminary report in 3 to 5 business days. Because I'm going to just go ahead and give you your final report to get to closing, it may take me up to 7 to 10 business days. I have to contact the municipality to verify permits and find out what the fees are, etc. I have to review these plans and make sure everything is correct, and then the contractor will review it, let me know if he wants me to move money around anywhere. But in that being the case, I'll have your final report for you to review, and you're entitled to one revision for the $950 before closing. One revision, that you're allowed one revision if you need it. You may not need it. The underwriter may require a revision once he gets the report, and so we always give you up to one free revision. If after that one revision there are additional revisions, as you can see in the agreement, there is an additional fee for additional revisions, and there you can see that desired changes, preparation of to scope of work requiring a new specification of repairs is a $100 minimum fee, and change orders are $100 each minimum to be paid from available contingency reserve funds or by the client as needed. Okay, this is in here. Contractor bid meetings, $200. All right, so you have it all in the agreement, and if they have a chance to review it before the inspection, then they're not going to have any trouble knowing what they need to. Then you can, if they say to you, oh, okay, well, if you're going to do that, this is what the fee is. It's going to be $950. Do you want to give it to me on your credit card, or write me a check? And if they say, well, I only have a $400 check that I had already brought with me. Okay, well, I'll take that $400, and when the report is finished, before I release it to you, my office is going to send you an email where you can actually electronically pay the balance. Okay? Does everybody understand that when you are doing any 203K report, you get your money up front? Raise your hand if you get that. Okay? Reason why I'm emphasizing this is, with most things that I do, I emphasize things that I found people have had problems with. One of our very dear members, his name is Vince Vargas, and another member didn't require payment at any stage because the lender requested that they take payment at settlement. Well, it is now 3.5 months later, and it looks like the job is going to die. So now how is he going to get paid if there is no settlement? You don't. You should always require that payment is required at the time of report delivery or before. At or before report delivery is the required time frame for payment. Otherwise, you're chasing money. If a lender says to you, well, you know, this person is really having trouble financially, could you please accept payment at settlement? Well, if they're having trouble financially, I'm going to have trouble collecting my money. So if that's the circumstance, I'm going to say to the loan officer, I'm going to need your company to guarantee payment. So that I'll need to have I need to have authorization, a purchase order, or some sort of a guaranteed payment form from you that says if for any reason this borrower does not go to closing, or closing takes place after 91 days from the initial release of the report, that you, the lender, will pay this invoice for the reports provided. And you need to get that signed by the loan officer and signed by any kind of a vice president or someone higher up than a loan officer. Because loan officers can be fired, and the higher up person can say, this isn't binding. So if a loan officer says, okay, I can sign that, well, are you responsible for accounts payable? Well, no, that's the vice president of blah, blah, blah. Okay, well then, no disrespect to you, but I need his signature on this as well. All right, does everybody understand that? Okay, raise your hand if you're not getting that. Raise your hand if you get that. Excellent, because they will try to put you behind the 8 ball. Why? Just because they're only collecting payment at settlement doesn't mean you have to. That's not, they get a whole lot more money. They can afford the risks of waiting till closing. We can't. So now I'd like to challenge one of you on the call today. Who here would like to write up a form that we can share with our membership that then could be a boilerplate form that we could give out to all of our membership for giving to a loan officer to get them to guarantee the payment should they ask for payment to be held at settlement. Who'd like to make that form and share it with the group? Raise your hand. Somebody. Anybody? Oh, come on. Are you going to make me have to do it? All right, fine, thank you. I'll get you. You just made my assistant Peggy to have to do this. She hates you. Okay, so now my assistant Peggy's going to have to do it, and I'm not going to, and that's not fair, but it's okay. So now you understand that when you're doing this agreement, you take it with you to the project in a printed form. That way, if you have to change and go right to straight to work right up, you can do so at this stage. But again, if you've accidentally finalized it, you can roll back. So here you can see I'm at the preliminary stage. I rolled it back, and now I hit the button that says go to straight work right up, which I'm not going to do. I'm going to leave it at this phase because the next month's conversation will be about the report writing of a preliminary work write-up, and so we're going to use this ongoing in the project. So this is the document that we use. And now real briefly, I just want to review, and actually I'm going to log out of this copy of Genesis and log into my own personal one so you can see a better representation, because again, this is a practice program. So let me log out of here. Hang on. I have mentioned to you all in the past that I recommend that you have an email address called 203k@ and your company name. I have a 203k@ Value Home Inspections, and that is the email address that people send any kind of conversation about 203k to me, and that way all my 203k discussions, conversations, loan requests, anything is straight going to that folder. It keeps it separate from my regular home inspection business. Okay, so the question is, can the consultant service agreement be signed on and returned online? Absolutely. And let me get this off of here. Matter of fact, that's what we do in ISN. The agreement is executed online. Let's see if I can go to 12th. And there's my 12th Street file. I love this project. I've already received over $2,000. It's a conventional renovation project, and you can see that it was signed electronically, and right there you can see in here it says that when the client signed the order. Let's see, where is it saying? Order paid for by credit card. And so now I can actually view the agreement, and I never have to worry about paper files being lost. So here you can see she signed it online, and I could print this if I needed to. There's the one signed document, and this is what the electronic version looks like. Let me just hit details, and there you can see it. That's the agreement. Looks just like it did from the inspection agreement on the 203k Genesis software. And at the bottom of this is what she signed. So she signed it with her pen or finger or whatever, but you can see that was the browser's email address. This is their IP address. This is valid in court. Okay? And so if you remove this, it would make it to be signed again. So this is one of the benefits of using ISN. You actually have that stored in your permanent record in your ISN database. And so that's how you can do it, sign it electronically through ISN. If you use a program like Adobe Adobe eSign or DocuSign, then yes, it sends you a signed copy that you can store it online. Okay? So now I've logged into my regular home inspection software, my Genesis account for my company. So there you see my company logo here at the top right-hand corner. Now I'm going to go to the projects page. All right, and so let me make this a little easier to see. So I'm going to zoom in because it's a little large. There we go. Okay. So now when you hit the button that says Active Projects, there you can see all of the conditions of the program, of the files that I have. And when we move further into a discussion of contractor draw inspections, and we are going to be doing the draw inspections in June. We're going to be talking about draw inspections in June. you can see that I have 4 projects that are 25 days since the last draw, and I can click this and go right to those 4. I have 2 that have 0 that have pending work write-ups to do, and I have 2 that are in pre-inspection. So now I click that, and you can see that I have this one that's in pre-inspection, and I have this one that's in pre-inspection. Now this person here, he actually is needing to go straight to work write-up, because what happened is he had another consultant that closed the loan, and now we need to move him straight to work write-up. So he's going to be reached out to by my staff, and they're going to just give me the bid from his previous contract consultant. We're going to key it in, and we're just going to go straight to draws. And so what we're going to do is we're going to share that task on how to do that, go straight to draws, when we do section 4, which is in May, on final work write-up. So we're going to talk about going straight to work write-up at that point and how to go straight to draws. But for now, as you can see, this is a snapshot of everything that I have going right now and what I need to be doing. So right now I have 2 that are in pre-inspection, all right, that haven't actually, this one actually, the pre-inspection, the inspection date was done December 19th, and it needs to be entered into the system. And I have 1 that's in contractor bidding, and that actual contractor bid is being done this Friday, a matter of fact. And so basically you click this button here, and you can see all the contractors who have been invited to this bid. All right, so you can see all the different contractors who have been invited to this bid, and in ISN we have an order for the bidding activity. So here's my bid on 12th Street. Here's my order. And you can see this is a contractor bid meeting. And you can see all the contractors who were emailed. So you can see that on the 6th, she called to see if they all got the report. And so she's reaching out to make sure they have all their information in their Genesis file. And you can see that the contractor bid meeting is scheduled, is already posted for the payment. And you can see that specific contractor bid appointment emails, 203K contractor bid meeting package sent to contractors. And then 203K contractor bid meeting schedule notification to client. And she got the notification and she opened the email. I love this, okay? So ISN really makes it easy to work with this program, and it takes care of all the details for you. So when I get out to the property, she hasn't paid, she can either give me a check or she can pay through the ISN site right there on my phone. So that is the one project that I have currently in contractor bidding, with all these contractors bidding, actively waiting to get ready for the bid. So I have 1 that's in progress, and that's this file here. So this snapshot shows you I have 21 active projects, and at any given point I have 20 or 30 active jobs at various stages of completion. And you can see that I have 9 that are in draw, I have 9 that are at work write-up, I have 3 that they have not yet had their draws start. All right, so this one here, I'm doing the first draw this coming Friday. This one here, I believe the first draw is next Friday. And this one here, the first draw is this Friday too. So I have 3, and so this keeps you aware of where you're at. So now, this is actually stepping a little bit ahead, talking about draw processing and everything. I wanted to show you this active projects snapshot because this can help you stay on track of your jobs. Okay? If you have a project that no bids have been received yet after you submit, once the bidding has started, then I'm going to be able to, you'll be able to see projects that they have not had anybody submit bids for. So you can follow up and say, gee, nobody sent any bids on this yet. But right now, this bidding is still in progress for this project. All right, so the pre-inspection was October 19th. This is not a 203K, so I'm going to actually edit this. I can go back and edit this when I get into work write-up, because this is actually a conventional renovation she's doing. And actually what she did was she actually got a construction loan, and the contractor walked away after taking close to $200,000 and getting almost nothing done. And she's left with a half-finished house, a 3-family dwelling, and so now she's hired me and to be able to help her get this done correctly. Okay, so that's what's happening with this project. So now, I just want to basically review what we've discussed today. What is the state of ISN integration? Thank you for asking that. ISN integration is expected to be completed by the end of January, and in which case you will be able to see, you'll be able to go into ISN, into the admin section, and go into, not use, let's see, actually it's in the settings section, company settings, not company setting, office settings, excuse me. Right, you'll be able to go into the office settings, and they're going to have a list of all of our members, and for all of our members they're going to be able to have the button for you to be able to click the 203K in a box autoresponders to add to your program. Okay? So we are at 9:26, and I'm going to let you guys get out a little bit early unless you have any questions. Was this helpful for you? As for some of you it was a review, I totally know that, but for some of you this was your first time going through a 203K project. Was this helpful? Raise your hand if this was helpful for you. Okay? If you have not yet gotten a phone call and you don't have your first 203K job, that shouldn't stop you from going in and keying in a report in Genesis. Okay? If you are working in ISN and on your ISN files you do not see the button, whoops, wrong one, you do not see the button that says lender or investor, you must call them or Skype them or chat with them and ask them to add that, because that's not automatically showing up on every order. So let's go back to this order for me for Saturday. So you see where it says loan officer, lender, and contractor? Well, they have as yet to fix this, because they wrote here they've combined the insurance agent with the contractor profile. You see where it says no contractor, no contact for a contractor, and it says no insurance agent. But this will not automatically show up on your screens unless you contact ISN and tell them you want this turned on. They have to turn the switch on for you to be able to see loan officer, lender, and contractors. Okay? So make sure that you do that. Everything else is generic on all of the ISN order forms. These you must ask to be turned on. So I wanted to make sure I mentioned that. Okay? So until I'm able to support you in the future, I want to say that I will be seeing you all next Thursday night at 9 p.m. And we're looking to see many of you in Las Vegas. So by a show of hands, how many of you will be at our pre-certification class on Sunday in Las Vegas? It'll be a great review for you to learn about 203K, but it's actually for people who are not yet certified. It's a Sunday class for 4 hours. If you're going to be in Las Vegas early, please plan to come by at toward the end of that class. I'd love you guys to be there to give a testimonial about what you think about our program and about our membership and about our community. And those of you who are going to be in town, we're going to be taking everybody out who's our member for drinks and maybe do a little poker, because you all know how much I love poker, on Sunday night in Las Vegas after our class. So who's going to be in Vegas? Raise your hand.
This is for the ASHI Inspection World coming up.
Correct. Peggy, you're going to be in Vegas. Wow, all the way from Columbia. That's cool. So Darren's going to be there. Okay. Well, Tom Kruger's going to be participating in a home show. All right. Hey, Tom, take your laptop with you. If we haven't talked about this before, we're going to be talking about marketing your business in the All Power Team call this month. And one of the things we're going to talk about is home shows and trade shows, and how you can really get people to your booth or table, and how you can really collect contact information from contractors and from other booths and from the participants, and what to do with that information. So trade shows and home shows. There's going to be a home show this weekend here in Philadelphia at the Valley Forge Convention Center. I don't have a booth at that trade show. I'm going to be there as an attendee, and I'm going to go around and collect business cards and information from all the contractors and all the lenders who are there marketing home equity and refinance mortgages. Okay? So if you have home shows in your neighborhood, go first as an attendee to see how populated is it, how well attended is it, what's the interest level, what's the energy level at the event, and talk to some of the vendors there to see how many times they've done it, and then consider scoping it out before you sign up for a booth. So Tom, you have a booth at the event. That's fantastic. Please get somebody to videotape you at your booth. and post it on Facebook Live, all right, to get people to come to your booth. So it's 9:30 straight up and down. Ladies and gentlemen, until we're able to support you in the future, say it with me, Samantha, be
Be
outstanding.
outstanding.
Have a good day, everyone. Be
Thank you,
safe.
everyone, for joining us. Have a great day today. Be safe out there.